Now that you've done your parts, let's look at assembling the whole thing. What you'll want to do is, again, click new, and this time instead of a part, you want to look at assembly. So an assembly is a separate file that will hold all of your individual parts together. Let's go to assembly, and you'll be greeted with a dialog box asking you for the parts of your drawing. So I've got the parts here already. I've got them in the folder. You can put them wherever you like. Folder is good, that way you can organize everything, make sure everything is stuck together. Makes it easy to find all the parts and just keep track of them and organize them. So here's the list of all the different parts that we have drawn. Generally, when we want to start an assembly, we have to think first, what is the part we want that is the anchor? That means it's going to be the main part, everything else attaches to it. And this one will come with experience. As you see more things and draw more things, it'll become more and more obvious to you. Sometimes it's not obvious at all, then you just have to make a decision. So for this case, our gear pump, the main body makes a lot of sense because it's the one that just doesn't move, and everything else goes into it or around it or on top of it or whatever. So we'll choose the main body as the anchor. We'll open that. It gave me some weird error message, don't know why. So now it's following the mouse, and you may be tempted to just click, but we won't do that. If we click, then we are putting the object just in the space without any kind of reference to any origin. We don't want that. We want this to be the main piece, right? So we want it to sit on the three main reference planes. That makes it easy for us to do measurements, for us to keep track of the drawing. Later on, if you want to make some mates, we can just make use of the reference planes that are already there, the top, front, the right plane. Right, those are the ones that are already there, may as well make use of them. And also we want it to anchor, so we don't need to move. Now how do we fix this? Instead of clicking in the model, you can actually just click on the OK button right here on the top left. If you click OK, then you'll see if I try to move it, it says the selected component is fixed, it cannot be moved. And if we check out the front planes, you can see pretty much it's where we want them to be. Okay, it's very helpful later on when we want to mate, when we want to make measurements or whatever. It's easy to have those planes already there. So we got our main body. Let's think of what else we want to put. Maybe let's put the spur gears in. So we go to assembly, insert components, and then let's look for our spur gear. There we go. There's going to be two of them. So instead of again just clicking it, we want to make multiple copies of it. In which case, this time we can click on the pin. We click on the pin, and when we insert the component, we have an option to continue inserting the components until we're happy. Then again, we can just click OK, and that's our spur gears. Now at this point, you can either just chuck all of your parts in, or you can just put them in one at a time. That's also fine. So in this case here, let's say we put our spur gear into the case first. So I'm going to click on mate, and the most obvious thing would be that the center of our spur gear is going to sit in the center of our housing. So I'll just say that this center will be concentric with this circle. That way it's just going to be there and it won't give us any problems. Same with these two over here. Right, and if we've done our measurements, it's probably a safe assumption to say that the face of this spur gear is going to be flush with the face of the housing. So we choose those two, click finish, do the same for the bottom. Okay, so our spur gears are in. Let's just close that mate. Let's insert something else. Let's say, oh, by the way, if this dialog box doesn't appear when you click insert component, you can always make it appear by clicking browse. Click on browse, and this time let's put the caps. We've got cap 1, cap 2. Let's just put that both down so we can keep track of the different names. Cap 1, cap 2. So this cap goes at the back, and you can see at the moment that it's the wrong direction. So maybe let's flip it around. There's two ways to flip around. You can either directly right click on it, and holding right click you can rotate. Takes a bit of practice, but eventually you get good at it. If you hold left click, then you'll move it straight away. You're just shifting it around without affecting its rotation. If you right click, you use right click to drag, then you will affect its rotation. The other way to do it is to click on move component, in which case you have two options, move or rotate. If you go this way, then you click move component, with the left click you'll move it. If you use rotate component and click on it, then the left click will also rotate. So that's just being more specific. Right, so we've got these two parts here. Now at this point it's a good idea to sort of place everything roughly where you'd expect it to be. So I'm just using the navigation here to kind of put everything where I expect it to be. That just makes the mate easier to measure. It just makes the mate easier to calculate, because things are nearer to each other. Then SolidWorks can put things where we expect them to be. So let's put the front cap first. Let's mate them. Obviously, again, these two being the same size, naturally we'll just choose them to be concentric to each other. Let's choose these two faces, make sure that they are joined together, and these two faces will be flush. Let's do the same for the other one, here and here, and then here and here. There we go. And this face to this face, and there we are capped. Alright, next up is the shaft. Now, probably what I'll do is maybe hide this one first, so that we can insert our shaft. Probably would have been a better idea to put the shaft first. So I'm going to insert the shaft. That's shaft 1. And then insert shaft 2. And those are going to go into our spur gears, right? You can see the spur gear is going to sit on this side of the shaft. So before we continue, let's just put the bushings first. May as well do that. We've got 3 of these G8 bushings. So there's 1, 2, 3. Again, just using right click to sort of rotate everything into where we expect them to be. And then let's just mate everything. A good idea to zoom in. Don't be afraid to zoom in. That way it's easy to see what you're trying to do. Otherwise, if you're all the way out here, then you're trying to select, you might select the edge by mistake or whatever. This way you can zoom right in and you can choose exactly what you want. Just get used to this, because it's a good skill to have. You'll be zooming in and out a lot. There. And now our bushings are in place, and we can place that into our spur gears. And then this is going to go inside here. Then probably let's give ourselves a bit of space here. I'm just closing the mate so I can push everything out. That way I can select the face that is going to connect to. This face and this face. And then this face and this face. Now at this point, it's probably a good idea to mention that in real life you wouldn't have them exactly touching. Clearances are a thing. You need to have clearance, and real components wouldn't be exactly the same size. They would have a little bit of difference between them. Otherwise everything would just wear itself out, and you wouldn't be able to get a machine, not a good one, I mean not something feasible anyway, that will get you exactly the same dimensions. But yeah, it is good enough for practice. What else do we have? Let's make our cap appear again. I think we are left with the seal. So let's add the seal. That's just a cap to make sure everything is nice and sealed up. Okay, again, give ourselves a little bit of space so we can see what's going on, and choose the faces that we want. So that's all mated together. one good thing to check would be if we go back to evaluate, just to make sure that everything is all nicely fit together and you don't have interference. You can just click on interference detection, can calculate, and you can see, all right, so we have 3 interference points. It looks like that's the the gear, the teeth of the spur gears are interfering with one another. So I'm just going to do a section and see what's going on. Just gonna hide this so I can see, and indeed we have some interference. Just gonna push this off to the side, and if we look there, we are clear. Let's put this back, check one more time, make sure everything's fine, no interferences. There we go. So that's very basic assembly.